at times. But oh, this is a little hot. Can you just down a tiny bit? It's feeding back a little bit. Okay, oh, that's much better. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to sing I Am Alive, because we are. I am alive, alive in spirit. I am alive, alive and free. I am alive, alive in spirit. I am alive, spirit flows through me. And I'm getting even happier. I am alive, alive in spirit. I am alive, alive and free. I am alive, alive in spirit. I am alive. Spirit flows through me. Help me out in your mind. I am alive. Woo! 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 Alive in spirit. I am alive. Alive and free. I am alive. Alive in spirit. I am alive. Spirit flows through me. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that. Our Susan works for Michelle, and she is in Altadena, maybe by now coming this direction, with a car that wouldn't start this morning. So Michelle is stepping in for her. Thank you. So on the back of your order of service, please read along with me our affirmation for Center for Spiritual Living. There was kind of I guess it was a workshop at the North Hollywood Church. And every church that joined that had to pay $25. There was several Saturdays in a row. So I always look at this cost us $2,500. So appreciate these words. We are a loving spiritual community that offers opportunity for personal growth and joyful self-expression. We are passionately dedicated to welcoming a diversity of people, activities, and ideas. We open our hearts and minds to the expression of compassion and the experience of personal growth as we live and practice science of mind principles. And before we go any further,
okay. So I just wanted to say a little bit. When I picked this song, I was really thinking of many, 19 years ago, when I ended up being diagnosed with breast cancer, and I'm free, 19 years, as of May 10th. Thank you very much. And the first thing I said was, when the doctor said, you have this, I said, well, this is a blessing in disguise. And I got off the phone and I thought, I wonder who said that. Kind of rolled my eyes, and I went, okay, I'm gonna make a deal with God. Okay, I mean, you know, I hadn't been to church for a long time, so I was making a deal with God. So I thought, okay, well, one thing I enjoy doing, I mean, I'm not giving up chocolate. Okay, no way. Sorry, God. But I will give up drinking, and because I enjoyed it and it was fun, and so I bought a big bottle of wine, and that was the last wine I've ever had, and will ever have. And I went to healers and all that. But anyway, I didn't know what my next adventure would be. All I knew is I was going straight ahead, and all of a sudden, bam, I was going right. But I was going right. Okay, I wasn't going wrong. I was going right. So as I went to New Thought churches, because they resonate really well with me because I grew up in that situation in San Francisco, this song embodies what I discovered about myself. What is mine to give? What is mine to do? All I want is to share myself with you. So I stand here asking, what can I do? What is mine to give? I give to you. What is mine to give? What is mine to do? All I want is to share myself with you. So I stand here asking, what can I do? What is mine to give? I give it to you. What is mine to give? What is mine to do? All I want is to share myself with you. So I stand here asking, what can I do? What is mine to give? I give to you. What is mine to give? What is mine to do? All I want is to share myself with you. So I stand here asking, what can I do? What is mine to give? I give it to you. What is mine to give? What is mine? What is mine to do? All I want to do is share. I stand here asking, what can I do? What is mine to give? I want to give it to you. What is mine? What is mine? I want to share myself with you. I stand here asking, what can I do? I want to give to you. What is mine to give? What is mine to do? All I want is to share myself with you. So I stand here asking, what can I do? What is mine to give? I give to you. What is mine to give? I give to you.
Thank you, Michelle. That is just so inspirational and clarifying. And I think today Reverend Beverly is going to be talking about endings and beginnings. And I think that this year has been about clarity and about what things that we need to release and what things that we need to do more of so that we can be our true selves here, to know what's ours to give. And I appreciate that song of clarity. And now we're going to think about that and focus on that idea of clarity in our prayer. So I just ask you to sit back and close your eyes and Let's settle into knowing the truth together. As we powerfully know together that there is one mind, one body, one love, one life, and that is the life of God. And that life, that love is moving in us right here and now. We know where we focus on it and we feel it moving forward in our life as divine right action, perfect health, peace of mind, right knowing, right self-expression, perfect employment, uplifted consciousness, and again, deep peace of mind. Nurturing and loving relationships, all here and available from that point within us that is peaceful and filled with love and filled with the light of God. And from this place of great centeredness, great clarity, we simply release and end those things that no longer serve us, whether it be a habit, a negative relationship, a negative thought, a negative belief, anything that separates us from the loving, living presence of God, anything that separates us from one another, any false belief, we just release it and let it go right here and now. It is made of nothing, it has no substance, and we give it no more. It's just gone. We release it such a powerful way, knowing always when we have this voice of wisdom within us that helps us to navigate any challenge, any appearance of lack and limitation in our lives. For that, we're so deeply grateful. So knowing that the wisdom of God knows us, tells us, and helps us to know when things are beginning and when things are ending, and that we need to release them. We simply release this prayer with loving gratitude into the divine law of mind, knowing it's absolutely done and so. And so we say, and so it is. Amen.
Help me out here. I am one with the Spirit. I realize the truth, and I see it. I am thankful for it all. I release it. Let it go, and so it is, and so it is. I know it is, and I believe as I receive. Amen. 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 Thank you, God. That was God in action. I'm telling you.
You remembered all those words. That's great.
And I did not know I knew that. Gave it to God.
See, it works.
Yes, it does.
So today's inspirational reading from the Science of Mind textbook by Ernest Holmes is on page 185 and 186. And it's from a chapter called Causes and Conditions. And this is a passage called Turn Entirely from Conditions. And so when you're praying, you turn entirely away from the condition that you no longer wanted to experience and call in the truth. So this is what Ernest Holmes is speaking about in this passage. Turn entirely from condition. Behold thou my face forevermore. Look unto me, and ye be saved, all of the ends of the earth. That is, look up, not look down. The reason a man has difficulty in throwing off some weakness of character while believing in spirit's implacability and having faith that he is going to overcome his limitations, it is because he induced the necessary image in his mind. If he had, he would have overcome his troubles. Thinking of his weakness keeps the image of it before him. We cannot be too insistent on this all-important point. In treating, we must turn entirely away from the condition. Disease and limitations are neither person, place, or thing. Turn entirely from the condition or limited situation to its opposite, to the realization of health, happiness, and harmony. Spiritual treatment starts with perfect God, perfect man, and perfect being, which statement consciously removes any belief which denies such a manifestation. And so it is.
Okie dokie. Huh. Okay, well, Cecilia and I are going to play and sing When You're Smiling. Kevin, can you turn the microphone down a little bit? It's during the feedback. Thank you. When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, when you're laughing, the sun comes shining through. But when you're crying, you bring on the rain. So stop your sighing, be happy again. Keep on smiling, keep on smiling. The whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, when you're laughing, the sun comes shining through. But when you're crying, you bring on the rain. So stop your sighing, be happy again. When you're smiling, when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you.
Absolutely. So if you'll read with me the affirmation of the month on your program. Oh, you can't read with me, but you're reading with me in your head. Divine order is now made manifest in my mind, my body, and in my affairs. All I choose to experience comes to me effortlessly and easily at the right time, and so it is. Amen. I know you just sat down, but I think
That was really quick.
Yeah.
I'm back.
That's what it's like with living with your grandchild at home.
Oh,
Just sit down and all of a sudden.
so this song is dedicated to Gary. He and I used to love to sing, dance and everything. And this is a song I wrote a while ago. Okay. I know Spirit's calling to me. I know Spirit's calling to me. My eyes are open wide, feeling God inside. I am grateful for all I see. I know Spirit's calling to me. I know Spirit's calling to me. My heart is open wide, feeling God inside. I am grateful for being me. Oh, I know Spirit's calling to me. I know Spirit's calling to me. Now my journey starts. I'm willing to do my part. I am ready to receive. Oh, I know Spirit's calling to me. I know Spirit's calling to me. My arms are open wide, feeling God inside. I am happy to be free. Oh, I know Spirit's calling to me. I know Spirit's calling to me. I know Spirit's calling, calling. Oh, it's calling, calling. I know Spirit's calling to me. Come on now, Spirit. Come on now, Spirit. Come on now, Spirit. Calling, calling to me. We love you, Gary. Woo! Calling to me. Calling to me. Calling to me. Thank you.
For those of you who may not know, Gary was a beloved practitioner who made his transition a few years ago. And he dug himself out of the depths of despair. As I shared in our metaphysical lesson this morning, he was a dancer and he was a professor at UCLA and I think some other colleges as well. And I call it the disease of the rich and famous. He was into drugs and turned your life around. And he said, I was looking for drugs in MacArthur Park, and I knew if I found them, I was going to die. In that moment, he made a choice and turned his life around. Praise God. He was just such a valuable practitioner here, so helpful. And as Sandra mentioned, he brought up a lot of people with him. So today, well, before I get into that, Dan, stand up, honey. Dan Lefevre, who I knew before I was born, knew his mom before she married his dad, is now going to live stream our services on YouTube and what else?
Well, it's kind of a weird system.
Okay, yeah, well, too technical to explain now, but anyway, he is our new techie here. Thank you, Dan. So, endings and beginnings, and where to start? Sometimes they're difficult for a lot of reasons. There must be something else that comes often we focus on one aspect. We tend to concentrate on what ended and what missed and what beginning, or just the opposite. We see what's beginning ended. With that thought, think beginnings in your life. I'm from Nebraska, and it's considered to be in the tornado. And we could see the thought. It didn't. Strength we find ourselves in, whatever we find ourselves in, God is always right there, my friends. I graduated from high school one day in Nebraska and came out here the next day. I didn't know what I was going to find. I was fortunate. My grandparents lived here in Sunland, and my family were a working family. Didn't take my grandmother long before she took me on the bus to Los Angeles to get a job. And she took me to an employment agency, Nancy Nolan. I don't even know if they're still in business. And I went, the first place I went, Dun & Bradstreet, hired me as a manifold typist. So I ended living in Nebraska. I came to California. I had a job. And I'm asking you, I want you to think about endings and beginnings in your life. Endings and beginnings. And then there's the problem or the challenge in Las Vegas. You probably remember so many people lost their lives. But one man told the story. His sister threw herself over him and said, "I love you, Tyler." And she was the one who got the bullet. The endings and beginnings. He said, "I will never, ever forget that. I will never forget that." So as we look at endings and beginnings in our lives, what we have to know that God is always walking with us. That divine spark within each one of us, that divinity, that is a promise from the divine. And what we have to remember, and it's so easy to forget, that that divine spark has everything that God has. All the power, all the glory that is in God is right where we are. Right where we are. And when I first got into New Thought, Catherine Ponder was one of the first authors I read. I used to like to read the books that had the stories that told how people made it through a situation. Because when I read those stories, I thought, if they can do it, so can I. If they can do it. And most of those books at that time, the ones that I read in the 60s and 70s, probably were written in the 40s and the 50s, all of them had stories of people moving through and leaving a situation and moving into a much better one, a better situation. And this can always happen. And that brings me to the beginning of this church. Actually, this church was chartered, Sally may know this, February 18th, 1948. Ernest Holmes was at the groundbreaking. And so then the charter ended and we began as a church. And throughout the years, we've changed names. Our legal name is La Crescenta Church of Religious Science, doing business as Center for Spiritual Living, La Crescenta. And many of you may know this as well. So many people, because it had science in it, thought we were Scientology. And so even the larger organization changed its name to Centers for Spiritual Living. And here we are today. From endings into beginnings. Aren't we blessed to have this center still here this many years after the founding? The Shinkles, the Column, and the Chaffees bought this property, my friends, and deeded it to the church. Now, that wasn't an act of love. And then the Chaffees were the ministers here for quite a while. So I just want you to think, what is it? What is it that ended in my life? And something came along. And sometimes, I'm going to have to say, sometimes endings are difficult. Endings are difficult. I remember when my mother passed away. In 1991, I loved my mother. She was more than my mother. She was my buddy. We did everything together. And when I think of her now, I still get teary-eyed. However, her legacy lives on in my brothers and sisters. And we all had new beginnings without her, but we will never forget her. So I know there are those of you who have had dear ones who have transitioned, and you will never forget because they live in your heart. But we have to move on. But the thing is, never forget, and you won't, because love lives there in your heart with those individuals who have made their transitions. Now, as I said earlier, I really like to share personal stories, because when we do that, then you know you too can do it. And I talked our dear Reverend Emma into coming up today. I called her and I said, would you please share your story? Because if anybody, I'm not going to say much more. She said, oh, I have to make notes. I said, no, I want you to speak from your heart, dear Reverend Emma, and I want you to tell people what happened, how you moved through it, in ways that they can understand to move through difficult times. Some of you, most of you know this. Reverend Emma and her daughter Victoria used to have Body and Soul Salon down on Foothill Boulevard. And then one day Victoria didn't want to do that anymore. So Reverend Emma's walking up the street. She looks at our grounds. She calls me. She says, what if I put a salon in your church? Now, most of us, many of us, have gone to Reverend Emma. She's the best masseuse in the area, but she doesn't just massage you. When you come in, she says, what do you want to work on? And believe me, she doesn't let me off the hook. But we're down the hall from each other, and we go to each other to bounce things off. And Reverend Emma, I am going to invite you to the platform to tell your story of endings and beginnings.
And of course, I wrote some stuff. What's really interesting about this is yesterday I was feeling a little under the weather. But you know, we can't speak that because it becomes the outer. So I went home and I thought, you know, I'm just gonna rest. I'm just gonna go to sleep and take care of, you know, my throat. And of course, as God would have it, Reverend Beverly calls me last minute. I want you to speak tomorrow. And I thought, well, what a perfect thing to do, right? And that's a cure, and that's God. So when she asked me, and she gave me a specific thing to think about, because, you know, we all have losses. I've had several. But the specific one was about the Sayre fire. And that Sayre fire was, I think, November 15th, 2008. But before that fire, there was a new beginning. And that new beginning started here in Montrose. I've lived here for 40 years. So it's no coincidence that when my daughter was the director of the Chamber of Commerce for Montrose, she anointed her dad and I ambassadors, senior ambassadors. So I'll have to take you back to the journey which began in 1999. And I was shopping down in Montrose because you know it has so many cute little shops and restaurants and nail and hair places and just the best. And I came upon a shop that, you know, caught my eye because it was the first shop that I've ever seen that was of Mexican heritage. And the place was called Cositas. And Cositas means little things. So I was shopping in this really cute, quaint, and the owner was very attentive, and I just browsed around, and all of a sudden, I saw a sign. I mean, literally a sign. And the sign was a Talavera plaque with a little leather strap that you can hang on your wall. And this Talavera, it's Mexican art, and it had a painting of a yellow house, mountains, and birds. And for some reason, it captivated me. I asked him to, you know, I wanted to purchase it, if he could bubble wrap it, and then put it in the original box and date it. I don't know where that was coming from. I just was compelled to ask. And of course, he complied. He dated it September 1st, 1999. And then he handed it to me and he goes, "Is this for your new house?" At the time, I lived in a condo right on Florencita. And I said, yes. Yes. So I took that little gift, I put it under our bed, unbeknownst to my husband. He had no idea. This was between God and I. And so the story begins with this little sign. And after a while, I would find things for a new house. I would buy new dishes and sheets and put it under our bed. And my husband never knowing what I was doing because I wasn't ready to tell him. So eventually I go visit a friend of mine. She lives in this beautiful complex. And I was sitting there having tea or coffee with her. And all of a sudden the Santa Ana wind started to blow. And I felt this compelling energy saying, "This is where you'll live." And I instantly, like in a trance, started to ask around, you know, what are the houses here? What do they look like? And started to investigate some of these places because it was quaint, it was sweet, it was a community. And so I did find a place, I put some money down, and then I had to go home and tell my husband that I just purchased a house. And I was driving on the freeway back to Montrose with my heart pounding, saying like, how do I tell my husband we own a house? And so I saw this big old sign, and I think you remember the sign. It says, "You're more powerful than you think." And I thought, oh, here we go. I'll go home, I'll tell him, but I couldn't, I didn't know how. So I invited him to my friend's house for tea. And then we started looking, and I said, wouldn't it be a nice place to live? And he said, yeah, sure, whatever, you know. And so I take him to this house. Now, mind you, this house that I found, the house that I put the money down, I was like there every weekend. I had one of those cameras back in the day. We didn't have iPhones, we had cameras. So I looked like one of those, you know, TV reporters. I had a camera and I was sitting in front of this house manifesting for months. I could imagine lawn, I could imagine what it looked like on the inside. And finally, I got myself into the house. took that camera and I panned through the house and I had everything already decorated. So by the time we moved in, we got the house. My husband ended up coming there and one of the neighbors said, how do you like our neighbors? And my husband said, our neighbors? And he looked at me and goes, did you do what I think you did? And I said, yes. And he said, well, if you can figure out how we can pay for it and blah, 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 I'm in. And so we moved in. On Thanksgiving, our house closed. On Christmas, 2 days before Christmas, we were all set. And he comes home from work and he says, how did you decorate this house? We've only been living here 2 days. I said, I've been living here over a year. So anyway, we lived there for 7 years. It was a beautiful place. And then after 7 years, I don't know what changed in me, but it was time to move. And at that time, the sales of the houses took a turn. Houses weren't selling, and I just could not bear the thought of living here anymore. It was time. There was a strong impulse, just like the one that brought us here, was also an impulse to leave. And I felt it, and it was again the Santa Ana winds. I saw the for sale sign moving back and forth, and I said, Lord, releases of this house. That was on a Monday. By Friday, the Sayre fire had begun. It ranged over a mountaintop, and you could see it from the home. And I told my husband, I think you better get out of the shower because he takes a long shower. And I said, I think we're going to have to evacuate. I just feel it. And the fire was coming down. It almost looked like a lava. It was red and it was hot. And it was coming down like a river coming over the houses and panning. And then, of course, 489 houses were gone the very next day. And ours was one of them. We moved out with nothing. Well, he was smart. He packed up his truck with his 2 bicycles, 2 guitars, and a ukulele of sorts. And I just stood in the living room saying, Lord, what do I take? And it said, nothing. Take nothing. And so I got in my little car, we took off, and I knew that would be the last time we would see the house. And the next day we showed up, like many of the families did, to see what was left. Nothing but ash. And then CNN, of all people, were there interviewing us, and they came up to me. One lady came up to me, and my husband swears that I had her in tears. And all I remember her saying was, how does it feel to lose everything? And I was shocked to say, I lost nothing. I have everything. And I thought to myself, if I could get to this place, where else could I go? And so the reason why this story from the beginning to a new beginning was important is because now I'm working on a lake house. And I envision it, I see it, I feel it. I don't know where it's at. People say, where's your house? And I was like, I don't know. It's in Montana, too cold for me. Big Bear, maybe. But I know there is, because if God got me through this, I'm gonna have another house. So when I told my husband last night what Reverend Beverly did, she called me and she said to speak of the house, and he goes, honey, that story is so old. And I said, yes, but it leads us to new beginnings. And he knows that. And I think he's concerned. So thank you very much. Just know that there's always, always a way. And with God, all things are possible. Thank you.
You're amazing, Reverend Emma. You're just amazing. Thank you so much for that story. And I'm just wondering what house you're going to put a down payment on, and then tell mine, right? Okay, that ends our lesson, my friends. And our Susan is back with us.
Yay!
And I'm sure I will have a story for beginnings and endings too. Being that my car gave it up today, so I'll be looking for a new one. So, aren't we all blessed? Let's sing about that. Or you can sing in your mind, and I shall sing. It's good to be here. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so thankful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so thankful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so thankful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so thankful. I am so blessed.
Oh, is it me?
Sandra, instruct people to let their offertory
Yeah.
as they leave.
Okay. You know, it's just hard to miss your cue. I was just so enjoying everything that was going on. So if you will read in your mind with me, this is our time for offertory about sharing. We're not passing the plate right now, so it's back there. So please remember us as you are leaving the church today. So this is our ideas about sharing. Divine love flowing as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. And so it is. Amen. And thank you for your ongoing support for our center. It's really important, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. See it?
The universe is conspiring to make you walk.
That's okay.
Okay, so the announcements first. I don't have it in the order of service.
Okay.
Yes.
Announcements. Okay, so today's announcements. The art studio has returned and meets on Thursdays from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. in Chafee Hall. And Gerald Rivers' drumming class is meeting on Mondays at 7 p.m. Robin Whitlow's nature drawing and art journaling is now on Zoom. And she says, we are a lovely group of creatives using our journals in creative and inspiring ways. Classes are for beginner and beyond. Our class meets on Zoom Saturdays at 1 p.m. Contact information on the back of the order of service. So if you are interested, you can look on the back of the order of service. Jo is doing her yoga. Yoga with Jo is also on Zoom, and her classes are Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 to 11:40 a.m. And Paula and Fred are our chefs of the day. Their menu, we have chicken, green salad, potato salad, rolls, and pudding cake. Be sure to thank them for those goodies. And looks like we have our Sunday funny right here. A husband and wife were driving through Louisiana. As they approached Natchitoches, hope I said that okay, they started arguing about the pronunciation of the town. Well, of course they would. I'd be arguing. They argued back and forth, then they stopped for lunch. At the counter, the husband asked the waitress, "Before we order, could you please settle an argument for us? Would you please pronounce where we are Very slowly, she leaned over the counter and said, Burger King.
Very cute. Very cute.
So,
And then the benediction. And then the peace song.
okay, so then rev that is up.
Different times, different orders of service. So now our benediction, and I will speak it, and I want you to put your hands on your heart. Make these words your words. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It's happening through my mind, my body, and every aspect of my life. I think it, I know it, I believe it, I accept it. I'm never alone, for God is right where I am, and so it is.
And now, the peace song. Let there be peace on earth. Let there be peace on earth. Now it has begun with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our power, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Peace has begun with me, so this is the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous love. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth. Now it has begun with me. So it is.